Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shiur.
Shalom, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Shabbos, Daf Tzadik Gimel. We're on Daf Tzadik Beis Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom, and in the middle of our discussion regarding a melacha that was done via joint effort. If two people did a melacha together, what is the halacha there as far as chiyuv chatas? We have three shitas here. The Gemara will present those shitas again and give us the Mekayros, the source basis for their disagreement. Says the Gemara 4 lines from the bottom. How do we know these things? The Tana Rabbanan is running to the Brisa. Ba'asoisa, the pasuk here is describing chiyuv chatas. If one does an avera, the pasuk says ba'asoisa achas mitzvahs Hashem. Says the Gemara, we learn from the word ba'asoisa ha'oisa eskula. Only if an individual does the entire malacha, he will be liable. He needs to bring a chatas. But not if one only does a part of the malacha. Ketzad, for instance, shnayim shoyu oichzin b'malgez. If two individuals were holding onto this pitchfork, v'loigzin, and gathering the stalks of grains, which is a malacha of ma'amer. B'karkar, they were holding onto this tool, this weaver's tool, v'shoiftin, and straightening out the threads on the loom, which is a malacha. B'kumut, they were holding onto this pen, v'koisvin, and writing. B'kanad, they were holding onto a reed, v'yitzyu shesarabim, and carried it out together in shesarabim. Yochalu chayav, and perhaps they will be chayav. Talmud loymar ba'asoisa, the pasuk says ba'asoisa. Ha'oisa eskula, v'lo ya'oisa miktsasa. As Taisa explains, the word ba'asoisa with the mafik hey is as though it would say ba'asoisa oisa. It's coming to teach us only if he does the entire malacha. Ha'oisa eskula, v'lo ha'oisa miktsasa. Therefore, we exclude these cases where the individuals joined together, did the malacha together, they are patur. Continues the Brisa. What about be'igel shel dvela, a large size glob of dried figs? So this round glob of dried figs, v'yoytzilu shesarabim, they both carried out shesarabim, or b'koyer, they were holding on to this large beam, v'yoytzilu shesarabim. What is the halacha there? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, im lo yachel echad lo yitziah. If it was too large, if it was too heavy for one person to do it on his own, lo yachel echad lo yitziah. Ruvain on his own was unable to carry it out, and therefore they both did it. Chayovin. In this case, they are chayav. But otherwise, if one individual on his own was fully able and capable of doing it on his own, and they decided to join forces, do it together, then indeed the patur and they are patur. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, in a case where they need each other, in that case, it's not considered to be out of the norm, out of the ordinary. It seems like according to Rabbi Yehuda, in that case, it is as though each one did an entire job, because he did what he could do. He did his full capacity, and therefore, in this case, there's no exclusion, there's no miyut. So once again, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it depends on the ability, on the capacity. If it was a situation where Reuven and Shimon, each one individually, independently, was unable to do the malacha, and they joined together to do it, they are chayiv, but otherwise they are patur. Reb Shimon Homer, it's irrelevant. Even if Reuven on his own was unable to carry it out, so they're both unable to do it on their own, and they joined forces, they both carried it out, Peturin. That's why the pasuk says ba'asoisa, to teach us. Yachid she'asa chayiv, if an individual on his own does the entire malacha, he's chayiv. Shnaim she'asua, but if two people do it together, Peturin, they are patur, so it's irrelevant. We don't make that distinction whether it is a case where they were both individually able to do it on their own or independently unable to do it. It doesn't matter. If they join forces, they are patur. Says the Gemara, so what is the source? What is the point of their disagreement? What is it based on? B'haikra, based on this pasuk. V'im nefesh achas techta b'shgogem ha'ma'oretz ba'asoisa. Says the Gemara, Reb Shimon Savar, this pasuk describing the liability of chatas actually contains 3 separate miyutim, 3 separate exclusions. Reb Shimon Savar telasa miyut ksivi. There are 3 miyutim. How? The pasuk begins with nefesh. So nefesh is a singular term, a lashon yachid. The pasuk says nefesh achas techta. So techta, who is going to be doing the chet? Who is going to be transgressing? The nefesh. So we learn nefesh techta. The techta applies to the word nefesh, which is a singular concept. The pasuk continues, nefesh achas. Achas certainly means one. So achas techta. And the pasuk continues by saying, Ba'asoisa. So here too we apply the word techta to Ba'asoisa, that the techta is only applicable with Ba'asoisa if it's done by individual, if a person does the melacha completely on his own. Ba'asoisa techta. So according to Reb Shimon, we take the word techta and apply it to nefesh, which is single, to achas, which is single, and ba'asoisa, which implies only a melacha done by a single person. So we have three miyutim. Says Reb Shimon, chad. So the first miyut is coming to exclude a very basic case. L'mu'utei ze oiker v'zamaniach. If they split the melacha completely into two, we have Reuven and Shimon carrying out an item. Reuven does the akira, lifts the chayfetz off the ground in domain number one, v'zemaniach, and Shimon, he rests it, he places it down in the rishus number two. So we have a melacha which is completely split into two. This is a very basic case of shnaim she'asu, and therefore this is the first miyut. It is logical to assume that the pasuk is going to be made this first. Now we have an additional miyut. We're going to apply it to even a greater chiddush, to even a more advanced case of two people doing a melacha together. So the second miyut is coming to l'mu'utei ze yachal v'ze yachal. So if Reuven and Shimon both did the entire melacha, for instance, they carried out an item into Rishus Harabim, they both did the akira and the hanacha together. Ze yachal v'ze yachal. It was a case where each one individually was able to do it on his own. They decided to make this joint effort. The Torah says they're pater because the melacha was not performed by a single individual. V'chad, now the additional miyut, l'mu'utei is going to exclude a greater chiddush, a greater novelty is going to be taught here. L'mu'utei ze eni yachal v'ze eni yachal. So if Reuven and Shimon both did the melacha, but each one individually, independently, was unable to do it on his own, ze eni yachal, Reuven was unable, v'ze eni yachal, Shimon as well was unable. Nevertheless, they are part, even though perhaps they need each other. It's considered to be a norm, derech, the urchei bahachi, to do melacha together in this circumstance where individually they weren't able to do it on their own. Nevertheless, the Torah is memayet because the melacha needs to be performed by one person individually, completely, entirely on his own. Let's take a look at Rashi inside, who gives us the background of the seder, the order, the succession of the drashas here. So Rashi is up on the second line from the top, beginning with the words nefesh techta. Says Rashi, nefesh techta, mashma nefesh v'le nefashes. So the word nefesh denotes a singular term, only a single person. Nefesh v'lo nefashes. So the first miyut is chad l'mu'utei ze oiker mirshus harabim v'ze maniach b'shus hayachid. So Reuven did the akira, Shimon did the hanacha. Now it is logical to assume that the first miyut will be applied to this case. Says Rashi, why? The chol kama the lechsiv elachad miyut. As long as we only have one miyut, we're holding at the first exclusion. Mistaver is logical to say the hayu de b'mayit, that indeed the Torah wants to be b'mayit this case. The haika of it palga, because Reuven only did half the malach. V'hai palga, and Shimon only did half the malach. V'lek echad, the mesaye'a b'kula. We don't have any one of them helping out, assisting in the entire malacha. So this is a malacha which was squarely split into two. It is logical to assume that the first miyut will be applied to this case, where each person only did literally half the malacha. Now let's move up the ladder. The next miyut, v'chad yitura, l'mu'utei, afal pi, da'avdi ki adodi. That's going to be applied to a greater chiddush even when they both did the entire malacha with each other. Reuven did the entire malacha, Shimon did the entire malacha. They both carried out the chayfetz. They both did the akira and the hanacha together. Umiu, however, ze yachal v'ze yachlu. So each one is capable, is able to do it on his own. Umiu ze yachal v'ze yachal hu de b'mayit. It is logical to assume that the Torah on the second stage of miyut is going to be b'mayit, a case where they were both able to do it on their own. The lab urchei. The lemab de betray, it is not common, it's not the derech, it's not usual for it to be done with two people. So it's logical to assume that the next miyut will be applied to this case, which is not, although a greater chiddush than the first case, because they both did the entire malacha, but it is not the most greatest chiddush, because perhaps there's a reason why here they're not chay, because it's not really the derech to do it when they can individually do it on their own. V'chad, however, the third one is going to teach us even more advanced chiddush. V'chad yitur l'mu'utei is going to be b'mayit su. Ze eni yachal, v'ze eni yachal. When Reuven and Shimon both independently weren't able to do the malacha, the afagav the rechayu, even though Indeed, it is common for the malacha to be done using two people in this circumstance. Nevertheless, the Torah is might that even in this case, when it seems to be common practice to do it via two people, nevertheless, they are pata since the malacha needs to be done specifically, entirely by one person on his own. So once again, we have the succession as follows. The first miyut is going to be might, a case where Reuven did the akira and Shimon did the anacha, so they split the malacha between themselves. The next miyut is even in a case where they both joined forces to do the entire malacha together. The third miyut is even in a case where they were unable to do it on their own. They needed each other, therefore they joined forces. Nevertheless, they are pater because the malacha was done by two people. So this is the shita of Reb Shimon, who doesn't differentiate between able and unable. In all cases, they are pater. Rabbi Yehuda, let's go back to the Gemara of Rabbi Yehuda, which is 13 lines from the top. Says the Gemara of Rabbi Yehuda, who disagrees, he makes that distinction. He says, well, if Reuven and Shimon joined together in a circumstance where they were individually unable to do it independently, they will be chayiv. So how does he configure the exclusions, the miyutim of the pasuk? Says Rabbi Yehuda will hold, chad, the first miyut is l'mu'uti za'ikah v'zamaniach. Indeed, like Rabbi Shimon, the first miyut will exclude a case where Reuven and Shimon split the malacha between themselves. One did the akira, one did the anacha. So that's the first miyut. V'chad, the next miyut, l'mu'uti is zayachal v'zayachal. A case where Reuven and Shimon were both independently able to do the malacha. They joined forces, they are pater. The third miyut is going to be applied to a different concept. V'chad l'mu'uti yachid she'asa b'roas bezdin. If an individual does a malacha as a result of the ruling of the Bezdin Agudath Israel, who ruled that this is not a malacha, this is permitted, and he does the malacha, it turns out it was a mistake, and he did a malacha. So since he did the malacha as a result of the psak, of the ruling of Bezdin, the pasuk tells us he is pater. Rashi says we apply the concept of onus as though he did it by coercion. He's not held accountable for it. So this is the miyut of mesaye'a coming to tell us that only if he does it on his own, he initiated, but if it was done as a result of the psak bezdin, he's pater. So therefore, according to Yehuda, the third miyut is unavailable to teach us the miyut in a case where Reuven and Shimon joined forces to do malacha in a circumstance where they were individually unable to do it on their own. So the pasuk is unavailable for that. It's coming to teach us this halacha of yachid she'asa b'roas bezdin. So we don't have a miyut for that case, and indeed, according to Yehuda, Reuven and Shimon do malacha together in a circumstance where it is ze'ein yachal. Reuven couldn't do it on his own, ve'ze'ein yachal, and Shimon couldn't do it on his own. They indeed are chayiv. Says the Gemara, Reb Shimon. Now, how's Reb Shimon going to know this halacha of yachid she'asa b'roas bezdin? Says the Gemara, Reb Shimon, yachid she'asa b'roas bezdin is chayiv. He's chayiv, and therefore there's no miyut necessary for this. Now, Taisus brings a girsa, a different version of the Gemara, because there's a Reb Shimon in Mesachos Hayros actually says that he's pater. So therefore, Taisus brings a different girsa where certainly Reb Shimon agrees that a person, an individual who follows the ruling of Bezdin is pater, is considered to be an oinus. But the reason why Reb Shimon doesn't need a miyut for this is because he holds it's pashut. It's obvious that he's pater. It's an oinus. And therefore, we don't need a pasuk for this. So therefore, according to Reb Shimon, if we don't need a pasuk for this, so the third miyut is indeed available to teach us the miyut in the case of when two people join do malacha together, even in the case of ze'ein yachal, they're still pater. So this is the background of the two shittas of Reb Shimon, who exempts all cases as a result of the three miyutim, and Reb Yehuda, who only exempts two of the three cases. He holds that in a case where they join forces in a circumstance where they need each other, they are indeed chayiv. Continues the Gemara, Reb Meir. What about Shittas Reb Meir, who holds that in all cases they are chayiv? Says the Gemara, Reb Meir, miksiv nefesh techta, achas techta, mesaye'a techta. You're coming with a presumption that the pasuk here has three miyutim. Indeed, does the pasuk really contain three miyutim? Trei miyutim ksivi. There are only two miyutim, because according to Reb Meir, nefesh, achas, techta go together. We're not splitting the two. It's not like it says nefesh on its own, and then achas on its own, and then mesaye'a on its own. to give us 3 miyutim. Nefesh achas techta go together. So it leaves us only with 2 miyutim. 1 miyut from nefesh achas techta, and the other miyut from mesaye'a. Says the Gemara, Trei miyut ksivi only have 2 miyutim. Chad l'mu'uti ze'eke v'zeh maniach. Therefore, according to our mayor, it's unavailable. We only have 2. One will teach us the basic exemption of ze'eke v'zeh maniach. So if they split the melacha into 2, one did the akira, one did the anach, in this case, certainly they're potter because each one only did half a melacha. But of course, if they both joined forces and did the entire melacha together, even if they helped each other out, they will be chayiv. So the first miyut is only for this unique case where one did the akira, one did the anach, v'chad, and the second miyut is lamuta, yachid, she'asa baraz bezdin, like Rabbi Yehuda learns, coming to exclude this individual who did the melacha as a result of the ruling of bezdin, where he will be pata, we regard as an einus, and that is where the second miyut goes to. So in summary, we have 3 shittas here. We have a Shimon who learns 3 miyutim. Nefesh is a miyut. And coming to exclude a case where Reuven did the akira, Shimon did the anacha. Achas is a miyut. It's coming to exclude a case where Reuven and Shimon both did the entire malacha, and they were both fully able to do it on their own. Mesaye'a is coming to remind a case where they both did the entire malacha together, and even if they were both incapable of doing it independently, they will be chayiv if they join forces, since the Torah is telling us only when the malacha was entirely done by one person, he is chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda says, he agrees to the first miyut. The word nefesh is coming to exclude ze'eke v'zeh maniach. The second miyut of achas will exclude a situation where both did the malacha together, but they were both able to do it on their own. However, the third miyut mesaye'a is coming to remind the yachid that did the malacha baraz bezdin, and therefore there's no miyut available to teach us this case where Reuven and Shimon did the malacha in a circumstance where they were both unable to do it on their own, and therefore according to Rabbi Yehuda, in that case they are chayiv. Rameir disagrees with the 3 miyutim. He says there are only 2 miyutim. So the first miyut, nefesh achas techta, is going to remind the more basic exemption of ze'eke v'zeh maniach, where they both did only half the malacha. The second miyut, mesaye'a, is going to remind the yachid who did the malacha as a result of the ruling of bezdin. But according to Rameir, there's no miyut available for a malacha that was done entirely jointly by 2 people. And therefore, according to Rameir, if 2 people join together to do an entire malacha, they indeed will be chayiv. Continues the Gemara. Omar Mar. So we learned earlier, this was on Daf Tzadik Beis on base. Ze yachal v'ze yachal divra kol chayiv. What if we have a case where Ze yachal, Reuven, is able to do the malacha, and Ze yachal, but Shimon, who's helping him out, he personally can't do the malacha on his own. Divra kol chayiv, all shittas agree that he is chayiv. Now Tosfos points out that when we speak about Ze yachal, that Reuven is able or Shimon is not able, it doesn't mean that Reuven is a strong fellow, Shimon is a weak fellow. We're speaking about this specific circumstance. For instance, if Reuven is holding the item in a way where he can carry it on his own, and Shimon is merely contributing a finger to the effort here, so he can't, in this present circumstance, he can't do it on his own. So even if Shimon is a very strong fellow, we're speaking about this specific scenario here, in this joint effort. Reuven can do it and Shimon can't do it on his own. And that is the term of Ze Yachal V'Ze Yachal. The Ramban actually applies this concept to the previous Gemara as well. When we speak about 2 people doing a malacha together, Ze Yachal V'Ze Yachal, Reuven and Shimon are both capable and able, Ramban says we're speaking about within the context of what they're doing now. We're not speaking about their physical strength. It is all within the context of what's happening now in the configuration of the way they're doing it. They're both fully able, fully capable, or Ze'eni Yachal B'Ze'eni Yachal means in the reverse, that in this configuration, they can't do it independently. Okay, let's get back to our Gemara. Amar Ze Yachal B'Ze'eni Yachal Divak Kol Chayiv. So if Reuven can do it and Shimon can't, and he's helping out Reuven, he is Chayiv. Says Gemara, Hayminahu Mechayiv. Which one is Chayiv? Is it Reuven who is Chayiv, or is it Shimon who is Chayiv? We can view it from 2 angles. We can say, well, perhaps Shimon, who is the one that's unable to do it on his own, he is chayiv, because when it comes to him, he's doing it kederach. He needs the assistance of Reuven. He needs the help of Reuven. He can't do it on his own. So perhaps, in this case, since he can't do it on his own, and he needs Reuven, who is the Yachal, who is able to do it on his own, and is helping out Shimon. Perhaps, in this case, Shimon is doing it kederech malacha. He's doing it urche. It is the common, the usual manner of doing a malacha. He needs Reuven to help him. Perhaps Shimon should be chayev, as opposed to Reuven, who doesn't need Shimon. Reuven can do it entirely on his own. So for him, this is shalai kederech. It's lav urche. So perhaps Shimon should be the one that's chayev, or perhaps we could say no. Shimon is merely aiding. He's assisting. It's insignificant. And therefore, we don't reckon with what he's doing, we discount what he's doing, and Shimon should be pata, and Reuven should be chayiv. So there's two ways to look at it. Says the Gemara, which one of these two are chayiv? It's actually Reuven, who's able to do it on his own. He's the one that should be chayiv. He's the primary player here. Because as far as the Shimon, who was unable to do it on his own, Micah of it, what is he doing? He's not reckoned with. He's not the primary player here. He's merely lending a hand to Reuven, who could really do it without Shimon's help. So therefore, it is not reckoned. It is not reckoned with, and therefore, Reuven, the Yachal, is the one that is certainly chayiv. No, the mesaye'a ba'adei. Shimon is aiding. He's assisting Reuven. So certainly he's the one that should be chayiv. Apparently, Rav Hanuna holds that the Svara says that Shimon is doing it in the ordinary manner, the derech of the malacha, because he certainly needs Reuven's help. So he is the one that is doing the malacha properly, as opposed to Reuven, who doesn't need Shimon to help him out, and in which case he's doing it shalei kederech by having Shimon helping him out. So he's pater, and Shimon should be chayiv. Amar lei. So Rav Chizah responded, no, you can't propose that Shimon should be chayiv. Mesaye'a by mamish. Aiding assistant is insignificant. It's not reckoned with, and therefore it's not part of the malacha, and he certainly is pater, but rather it is Reuven, the capable one, who is doing the entire malacha and is chayiv. Amar Zvid Mishvei Derava, Afanana Metanina. We have a Mishnah which actually supports this concept that mesaye'a, aim by mamish, aiding assistant, is considered to be insignificant and not reckoned with. The Mishnah in the Masechah Zavin says as follows. So we know that a Zav who places his weight on something is metame that item to masmedris. So if we have a case as follows. If the Zav was sitting on top of a bed, va'arba taliyos. Now there were 4 taliyos. This is a lashon ravam for talis. So 4 of these garments were tachas ragli amita, were placed under the 4 legs of the bed. So 1 talis under each leg of the bed. Tmeis, they are all 4 tamei, bipnei, because they're supporting his weight. So he's sitting on the bed with the 4 garments under the 4 legs. Each one is tamei, bipnei she'eino yichol lamed al shalish, because the bed can't conceivably suffice with 3 legs. So each leg is important. It's crucial. It's vital to supporting of the bed, and subsequently supporting the weight of the zav as well, who's placed on this bed. So each one is it's considered to be supporting the weight and is tummy. Reb Shimon says, I'm going to be metayr the 4 garments. Why? Says Rashi, Reb Shimon follows his opinion. Mentioned earlier, if two people join together to do a malacha, even if it is ze'eino yachal, if Reuven can't do it on his own, and ze'eino yachal, Shimon can't do it on his own, they need each other's assistance and help. Nevertheless, they are pater. We don't relate the malacha to them, since it was done jointly by 2 people. Here as well, says Reb Shimon, we apply this concept to the bed, since each leg on his own can't sustain the weight of the bed and the zav. So even though each one is ze'eino yachal v'ze'eino yachal, even though they all need each other, each one on his own can't do it. Nevertheless, we don't relate the whatever's going on to the individual leg, and since it's a joint effort, so each one on his own is not considered as though he is supporting the weight of the bed of the zav, and therefore the talis placed underneath each individual leg is tar. as opposed to the Tanakama, who holds that in the case of Ze'en Yachal and Ze'en Yachal, if they all need each other, all the legs need each other because the bed can't stand on three legs. So it's a case where they all need each other. They're not able to do the job on their own. So indeed they join forces, and it is as though they're all for accomplishing the malacha. In this case, supporting the bed, supporting the zav, and they are tamei, and the talis underneath them. The talis underneath the four legs is tamei, are tamei. Continues the Mishnah. So this is regarding a garment underneath the bed. What about the zav who was riding on an animal? Vidala taliyos tachas. Tachas is a girsa arba ragla behema. So he's riding on the behema, and there are four garments under the four legs of the behema. Tahiros, in this case, they are toyer. Why? Because the behema doesn't need all four legs at once. He can stand. He can suffice with 3 legs. He doesn't need to place his weight on all 4 legs. So in this case, each talus, each garment, will say, well, I'm the 4th one. The animal can merely stand on 3. I'm the 4th one. So this concept is applied to each one individually. Each one will say, well, I'm the 4th one. I wasn't the one who supported the weight of the animal, the weight of the zav, and therefore all 4 of them are tar. Now Tosfos points out that the behemoth here is obviously stationary, standing in one place, because only then can we say that the behemoth can suffice by supporting his weight on 3 legs. But if he's walking ma'aleches, then whatever he's actually using at that moment, he needs that leg. So while he's walking, he lifts one foot, places the other one down. So whatever he places down, he needs that. It's crucial, it's vital for it to support his weight. So therefore, we can't apply this concept to walking. However, when he's standing on all 4 legs, we can say, well, he can suffice by merely placing his weight on 3 legs. So the 4th one is not really vital, necessary, and critical for the support of the weight of the animal, and therefore each talus will say, well, I'm the 4th one, and I'm not supporting the weight of the zav. Says the Gemara, okay, so this is the Mishnah. Va'amai. Now, how can we say that the talus placed under the 4th leg of the animal is not supporting the weight of the animal, not supporting the weight of the zav, is tar? Now, the 4th leg, even though it's not critical for supporting of the weight, nevertheless he's aiding, he's assisting the other ones. Apparently, we apply the concept of aiding is insignificant. And likewise, in our case of Malachas Shabbos, if Reuven and Shimon do a malacha together, in a case where Reuven is able to do the malacha on his own and Shimon is incapable, we don't reckon with Shimon. Shimon is merely being mesaye'a, he's aiding, and that's insignificant. It is Reuven who is the primary doer of this malacha, the primary player, and he, and only he, is chayiv. Amar Yehuda midiskarta. He's going to dispute the raya from this mission. La'olam emalach. Certainly, I'm going to say mesaye'a yesh b'mamish. Aiding is considered to be significant. It's considered to having played a pivotal role, an important part in what's going on. Meshani hacha. This case of the behemoth is different. Why do we say that the 4th talus is tar? Not because the 4th leg is merely aiding and assisting the other ones. The akula legamri, because he lifted it completely. As the Farshim say, not necessarily he lifted the 4th leg completely, but he shifted his weight off the 4th leg. He can lift it off the ground if he should choose to do so. It's not even playing a role of assisting, of aiding the other ones. His weight is entirely off the 4th leg. Therefore, the talus placed underneath that leg is tar. That's not even in the category, in the concept of mesaye'a. He's not aiding, he's not assisting, he's not playing any part in supporting the weight of the animal. And therefore, it's tar. But ordinarily speaking, a mesaye'a, a real siyua, something which is really aiding and assisting, playing even a minor role in accomplishing the objective, is considered to be significant. The mesaye'a yesh bo mamish. So this was Rabbi Yehuda midiskarta's pircha, a challenge. You can't bring a raya from this behema. Here, the weight is totally off, removed from the 4th leg. Says the Gemara, but that can't be the reason why the talus under the 4th leg is tar. V'kivan de zimnin akraha. Since occasionally he picks up one leg, meaning he shifts his weight off the one leg, v'zimnin akraha. Sometimes he shifts it off the other leg, and it's unknown which one is the free leg. So it's reasonable to assume that sometimes it's this one, sometimes it's that one. Lihavi kizava mesapich. Therefore, since there's a suffix, it's an uncertainty, with a logic behind it which says, well, sometimes it's this leg, which is free, sometimes it's the other leg. So therefore, all the garments should be tummy. Just as similar to the halacha of the zav ha-mesapich, the zav which is overturning, which carries a case of contains a element of uncertainty, and the Mishnah tells us that it generates tumah. Let's see the case. Haven't we learned in the Mishnah? Zav shayim mutal al heisav solon, a zav who was lying on 5 benches. Oy al hey pundois, 5 money belts la'arkan. So he was lying lengthwise alongside these benches. Tmeim, they are all tummy. Now the halacha again by a zav is if he rests on something, so the entire weight, or roiv, the majority of the weight of the zav is supported by this item, it becomes tummy tumas medras. So if he's lying alongside there at length, in which we can assume that part of the time he was on this bench, part of the time on the other bench, part of the time on this money belt, part of the time on the other money belt, and it supported his full weight or most of his weight because he's lying lengthwise along the benches, which are lengthwise as well. So in this case, the Mishnah says, Tmeim, they're all tummy. We assume that at some point in time, they supported his weight. However, l'rochvan, if he is lying perpendicular to them, to their width, meaning if the bench is situated horizontally and he is vertically, tahirin, in this case, they are tahir because there's no reason to assume that each bench carried most of his weight because he's lying the wrong way. Only part of the zav was hovering, was being supported by this entire bench. What about Yashin, if he was sleeping there? In which case we have reason to believe that during his sleep experience, he flipped over and he changed positions. He maneuvered himself in a way that indeed the bench supported his entire or most of his weight. Safek meshapach aleim. There's a safek whether you overturned on them. Tmei, they are tummy. So apparently when we have reason to believe that the object supported the zav, it is tummy. Says the Gemara. Here as well by the behema, we have full reason to believe that the behema, although it shifts its weight from one leg to the other, and there is one leg there that perhaps the behema was not using for support, but it shifts constantly. We can assume that at one moment this leg was the free one, at the next moment the other leg was the free one, and therefore we need to be metame all the garments placed underneath all 4 legs. You can't say the reason why they are tar is because it wasn't supporting the weight of the behema. That's something which alternates. And at the end of the day, we have reason to believe that they all supported the weight of the behema at some point in time, and they should be tummy. So that can't be the reason for tahara. Ella says more rather lav mishum namrinon mesaye'a imamash. Apparently, the reason why the taliyas atar is because of the reason, the formula of mesaye'a imamash. Assisting is insignificant, and since the behema doesn't theoretically need all 4 legs to stand in place, so one of them is really not critical, not vital for support of the behema. It is merely aiding and assisting the others, and therefore is insignificant. So each talis, each garment, will say, well, I'm the one, the leg placed above me was the one that's merely aiding and assisting the others, and it is not reckoned with, and therefore I'm the one that's not supporting the weight of the animal, nor supporting the weight of the zav, and therefore all 4 are tar. Continues the Gemara, Amar Papa Mishpei Rava, Afanana mitanina. We have another right to this concept of mesaye'a by mamish. Rabbi Yosi Aimer, this is another Mishnah. So we have the zav sitting on either the horse or the donkey. It says Rabbi Yosi, it depends where the garment is placed. If it's placed underneath the 4 legs of the horse, then we assume that it's supporting the horse and it is tummy. When it comes to a donkey, it's just the opposite. Something placed underneath the hind legs of the donkey is considered to be supporting the weight of the donkey. Rabbi Yisrael asus metame al yodav. The sus is metame through his four legs. Hachamar metame al raglav. The chamar is metame on his hind legs, shemish enes hasus al yada, because the horse primarily uses his forelegs for support, v'chamar al raglov. The chamar, the donkey, rests primarily on his hind legs. Therefore, Rabbi Yossi says that the sus is only metame al yadav, on top of his forelegs, and the chamar on top of his hind legs. Says the Gemara, but if the garment is placed under the other legs, it's tar. V'amai, how come mesaye'a ba'adadadi? Certainly, all the legs are helping each other out; they're assisting each other. Why is that reckoned with? Why is that considered as though they too are supporting the weight of the zav? Lav mishum da'amrina. Apparently, we say mesaye'a mamash, aiding and assisting is insignificant. Amar Rashi, afanana metanina. I'll bring you another raya. The halacha as follows says: Reb Lezer Omer ragle achas al hakli. So we know that the kohen doing the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash needs to be standing directly on the floor. Rashi says that the ritzpah is mekadosh. The floor of the Beis Hamikdash actually sanctifies the kohen. So you can't have anything in between any chatzitza. So ragle achas al hakli. What if one leg is sitting on a kli, which is forming a chatzitza, a separation between him and the floor of the Beis Hamikdash? For ragle achas al ritzpah, and the other leg is directly in contact, is on the floor, or ragle achas al evan, one leg on a stone. V'ragle achas al ritzpah, one foot on the floor. Ryan, we take a look as follows. We analyze. Kol she'ilu yunatel hakli. We visualize whether, theoretically, if that kli would be removed, v'tinatel evan, or that stone would be removed, yochel lama the ragle achas, can he stand merely using that one foot? So you have a situation where he's standing one foot on the floor, one foot on the evan. We want to know whether the foot, which is directly on the floor of the Beis Hamikdash, is that the one that is supporting it primarily, and therefore it is considered as though he's standing on the floor. So we take a look and we say, well, theoretically speaking, how do you remove that stone? Could he still stand? Could he still stand merely using that single foot? Kol she'ilu yunatel hakli, if that kli will be removed, v'tinatel evan, or the stone will be removed, yochel lama the ragle achas, could he merely stand on that single foot on the floor? Agudath Israel, indeed, his malach, his avodah, his service in his is kosher. We ignore the other foot. V'imlav, but if he needs both feet to stand, Agudath psula, his avodah is psula. So about my, why, in a case where, if you would remove the stone, he can stand on that single foot, the avodah is kosher? How come mesaye'a ba'adadadi? At the end of the day, both legs are helping each other out. Aiding and assistance is insignificant. We don't reckon with it, and therefore we can ignore the foot which is standing on the item. Amar Avina, afanana metanina. We have another raya from a brisa, a tesefta, kibel biyamin. So the kohen who's meant to do the avodah in Beis Hamikdash, the service, using his right hand, so he was makabel, accepted received the dam of the behema using his right hand. Usmo mesayatim, however his left hand was aiding, was helping him out. Here his service is kosher. Why? How come the hands, the left hand is helping out the right hand. So the hands are helping each other out. Apparently, la mishum damrina mesaye'a ein v'yimamash shmamina. So this is a raya. Apparently, aiding, assisting is insignificant. Ein v'yimamash, we don't reckon with it, and therefore we could ignore it. And the avodah in this case is kosher. So in summary, we learned the halacha where two people joined to do a malacha. Ruvain was yachel. Ruvain was able to do it on his own, and Shimon was any yachel. He couldn't do it on his own, and he helped out Ruvain. He was mesaye'a. The Gemara tells us that Ruvain is chayav, Shimon is pater, because he's helping him out. He's mesaye'a, and aiding, assisting is insignificant. It's not reckoned with. The Gemara had 4 rayos. We had 2 cases regarding Izav. The garments placed underneath the 4 legs of the behema, with the zav riding on the behema, they are all tar, because we said the behema doesn't need all 4 legs to support its weight. So therefore every single talus can say, well, I'm the 4th one, I'm the one which is not supporting the weight of the behema. Now, although all 4 legs are assisting, are being mesaye'a, nevertheless, we don't reckon with that, mesaye'a ebay mamish, and therefore they're all 4 tar. Similarly, regarding Rabbi Yossi's chiddush, that the talus which is placed underneath the back, the hind legs of the sus, or the forelegs of the chamar, are tar, because they're not the primary supporters of the animal's weight. although those legs are certainly aiding and assisting, nevertheless we apply the concept of mesaye'a eimay mamish. We have two examples from the Kohen and the Beis Hamikdash. One example was where the Kohen had his foot on the kli, and the other foot on the floor. The Gemara says, well, if he doesn't need the foot which is placed on the kli to support himself, he can support himself simply by using his foot directly on the floor. The avoid is kosher. Likewise, in the case of Kabbalah, he did the Kabbalah Saddam using his right hand, and his left hand was helping him out. We say that the avoid is kosher. Now, although in both of these cases, the other foot or the other hand was aiding, was assisting, we apply the concept of mesaye'a b'mamish. It is not regarded with, is not reckoned with, it is insignificant, and therefore his avodah is kosher. Continues the Gemara. Okay, so we had some examples where even if two people join to do a malacha, they will be chayiv. For instance, according to Rabbi Yehuda, in a case where ze'ina yachal, v'ze'ina yachal, if Reuven and Shimon are both unable to do it independently and they join forces to do the malacha, they are chayiv. According to Rabbi Meir, even in the case where they are fully capable of doing it on their own, ze'yachal v'ze'yachal, they will be chayiv. Let's take a look at the Gemara. Amar, ze'yachal v'ze'yachal, Rabbi Meir mechayiv. Iboilu. So I had the following question. Be'in and shir lazeh, v'shir lazeh. Now, if we say that both are chayiv, doesn't mean that we look at it as though two malachas are being performed. Reuven is doing a malacha, Shimon is doing a malacha, and therefore we need a separate shir malacha, a separate measure, adequate for each one independently, individually. We look at it as two different malachas taking place here, and the sum total of the malacha being done here needs to have sufficient volume, sufficient quantity, amount to theoretically be split amongst these two people, because we look at them as two individual malachas being done. Be'in and shir lazeh v'shir lazeh. Do we need a separate measure for each individual? Oidilma, shir echad dekulam. It is sufficient when there is one shir for both of them. They are both doing the same malacha together. One shir is sufficient for both. Rav Chizda, Rav Amnuna, Chadam, one says shir lazeh v'shir lazeh. We need a separate shir for each one. V'chadam shir echad dekulam. One shir is sufficient for all of them. Amar Papa, b'shvei Rava, afanana mitanina. I'll bring a raya from the Mishnah we mentioned earlier that it is sufficient to have one shir for all. The Zav was sitting on the bed, va'arba taliyas, and those four garments, tachas arba ragla mita, under four of those legs. Because the bed can't conceivably suffice with three legs, so each leg is vital, is crucial for supporting of the weight of the bed and of the zav, and therefore all four garments placed underneath those four legs are tamid. Says the Gemara, we have something which is a joint effort here. All four legs are supporting a single zav. Why? Is that sufficient to transfer tumah? For each leg to transfer tumah to the talus underneath it. Why don't we require a separate shir ziva for each leg, for each talus? So you should need four zavim sitting on this bed in order to transfer four measures of tumah to all four legs, to all four garments. Apparently, lav mishum da'amrina. Apparently, we say shir echad lekulam. One measure is sufficient for all, and therefore, in our case as well, when two people do malacha, it is enough if they both do one shir malacha. Amar Nachman, b'yitzlek afanana mitanina. I'll bring another raya. Tzvisha nechnas labayis. So the Mishnah says if a deer enters a home, v'nol echad b'fanav, and an individual closed the door, trapped the deer, chayav. He did a malacha of tzeda. Nol shnaim. If two people did it together, p'turim, then they are patur. Lo yachal echad linol. What if Reuven on his own wasn't able to close the door on his own? V'nol shnaim, and two people did it together, chayav, and they are chayav. So this is in accordance with Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that when two people weren't able to do it independently and they joined forces and did a malacha, they are chayav. Says Rav Amai, why are they chayav? Liboy shir tzedel lazeh, v'shir tzedel lazeh. Why don't we require a separate shir tzedel for each person individually? It's only one deer being trapped by two people. There's no sufficient measure for each one individually. La mishum dabrin. Apparently we say shir echad lekulam. One measure is sufficient for all of them together. Amar Ravina afanana mitanina. We also learned a raya. I'll bring a raya from the halacha that we learned. Ha'shutfin shegonvu v'tafchu chayavin. If two people steal together and they slaughter, they do the tvicha, they shech the animal, they are chayiv to pay the knas, the punishment of Abba Chamisha. Says the Gemara, V'hamai, why are they chayiv if they did the shechita together? Li boy shir tvicha lezeh, v'shir tvicha lezeh. Why don't we require a separate shir tvicha of zvicha for each one? They're shechting one animal. One animal is only one shechita. It's not sufficient for both. La mishum damina. Apparently, because we say shir echad lekulam, one measure is sufficient for all. V'amar Rashi afanana mitanina. I'll bring you a raya from the next halacha. Shnayim sheitzu kanish al gardi. Two people carry out this weaver's reed, which is meant to smooth out, to flatten out the threads and the loom. Chayav and they're chayiv if they carry out one utensil together. V'amai li boy shir l'hatzal lezeh. Why don't we require a separate measure of haitzah for each one? So this individual reed, the Gemara is assuming is only sufficient to use for one piece of material at once. So it only has a shear for one person. How could two people be chayiv upon carrying out this single reed, which only has a shear for one person? Lav mishum da'amrinan shir echad lekulam, one measure is sufficient for all. How could it be a raya from this Kanish al Gardi? Dilma, maybe the isbei. We don't view it as a tool. We view it as a piece of firewood. And when it's going to be used for fueling a fire, it has sufficient measure, sufficient shear for both of them, because it's large enough to be used to cook up 2 chicken eggs. Dilma the isbei de lavashel beitza kal lazeh. It has sufficient measure, sufficient amount, sufficient volume and quantity to fuel up, to cook up a beitza kala, easily cooked egg, which is a chicken egg, for Reuven. A beitza kala zeh, and there's enough there to cook up another egg, which will be attributed to Shimon. Meaning Reuven and Shimon carrying out this Kanish al Gardi. Each one has a part of the Kana for himself. There's sufficient there to fuel up, to cook up 2 eggs, which is the shear of a tzah of firewood. So if this firewood contains a double measure, so one measure will be applied for each person. Says the Gemara. Apparently we're not speaking about firewood. In Cain, if that's the case, l'shmein and kana da'alma, why does the Brisa mention a weaver's reed? Apparently it's meant to be used as a utensil for his work. Maishna the Gardi, in Cain l'shmein and kana da'alma, why doesn't the Brisa merely say a general reed, kana da'alma, a piece of wood, a reed which is used as firewood? Maishna the Gardi, why does the Brisa use the term Kanish al Gardi? Apparently it's meant to be used in his profession. It's not meant to be used as firewood, and therefore, since it can only be used to treat one piece of material at once, it only has a shear, one shear, and cannot be split amongst these 2 people. Apparently, one shear is sufficient for 2 people. Says the Gemara, no. V'dilma, perhaps the isbei, it contains in it. It's a large enough sized weaver's reed. To use to weave with it one towel for one person, and to weave another towel for the other person. Meaning, they're not actually using it to weave with it. It means to say that this large size weaver's reed is large enough to weave with it 2 towels at once. So each towel, each shear, can be applied to each individual independently, and therefore, certainly, there's a shear for each one, and therefore when Reuven and Shimon both carry out together, they are chayiv, since they both have a shear in this reed. Ella meholak alamashmina. Indeed, we can't have a right from this one, from this brisa, because perhaps we're speaking of a large size reed, which is sufficient for both. Continues the Gemara, Tani Tana. So there was a Zamayru presented a brisa, Kamed Rav Nachman, in front of Rav Nachman. The brisa says, Shnaim sheitzu kanish al gardi turn. If 2 people carry out this weaver's reed, they're pater. Reb Shimon mechayiv. Reb Shimon says they're chayiv. Says the Gemara, this seems to contradict the earlier version of Shimon, who says that in all cases, when 2 people do malacha together, they're pater. Klapi lai, in which direction are you taking us? Says the Gemara, la'ema, rather say chayavin. So the brisa begins by saying 2 people do a malacha together, they are chayiv. Perhaps, apparently we're speaking about the case where it's a heavy reed and each one individually can't do it on his own, and this indeed is Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that Zein Yochav, they're chayiv. Reb Shimon Paiter, Reb Shimon says even in this case they are pater because he applies the miyut of the pasuk to all cases equally. Even when it is a heavy kana shel gardi, they are pater since a malacha needs to be performed by one individual on his own. So in summary, we discussed the case where two people are doing a malacha together and they are chayiv, whether it is a case of ze yachal v'ze yachal according to a meir they're chayiv, or a case of ze eino yachal v'ze eino yachal which according to a they're chayiv. We have machlekes. Do we need a separate shiur for each one or not? We have machlekes Rav Chizar and Rav Nuna. One holds one shiur, a single measure is sufficient for both. The other opinion holds no, we need a separate shiur, a separate measure to accommodate both people. The Gemara tells us we have 4 rayas that one shiur is sufficient for all. We have the raya from the 4 garments placed underneath the bed, which has a single zav on it. Apparently one measure is enough for all. We have 2 people closing the door, trapping that single deer. We had the case where 2 people stole an animal and shechted it. They are chayev on the shchita, even though it's only one shchita for both. Apparently only one shiur is needed for both people. The Gemara also want to bring a raya from the halacha where 2 people carried out a kanishal gardi, this weaver's instrument. They are chayev even though it is not sufficient for both of them. The Gemara was doicha the raya. The Gemara says perhaps we're speaking about a large size kana, which indeed contains sufficient quantity that can be applied to each one individually, and therefore there's no raya from there. Okay, time for a brief review of today's daf. We began with the halacha of 2 people joining together to do a malacha. We have 3 shittas. Reb Shimon says we have 3 exemptions. We have 3 mi'utim from the pasuk. One mi'ut is from nefesh. That is coming to be memayit ze oiker v'ze maniach. If Ruvain lifts the item off Rishus HaYachid, Shimon places it down Rishus HaRabim, that is excluded. From the word achas, we are memayit a case where 2 people did a malacha together from beginning to the end, but each one was fully capable of doing it on his own. Ze yachal v'ze yachal, they joined together and did it together, they are pater. From the word mesaye'a, we are memayit even if they join forces in a circumstance where they were not individually capable of doing it on their own. Ze eino yachal v'ze eino yachal, they're still pater. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with that last halacha. He says the miyut of nefesh will be memayit ze oiker v'ze maniach. The miyut of achas will be memayit a case of ze yachal v'ze yachal. However, in the case of ze eino yachal v'ze eino yachal, they need each other. That is the derech, and that is not excluded from this pasuk. Rather, the third miyut will be applied to the yachid who did b'hiras bezdin as a result of the psak of the ruling of the bezdin hagadol, and he is pater. Rameh says we actually only have 2 miyutim. The first miyut of nefesh achas techta will be memayit a case of ze oiker v'ze maniach. However, if they both jointly do the entire malacha together, they are chayiv. The miyut of ba'asoisa indeed will be applied to the halacha of yachid she'asa b'hiras bezdin, where here is pater. The Gemara continued to the case of ze yachal v'ze eino yachal. If Reuven is capable and Shimon is incapable of doing it on his own, he helps Reuven. He's mesaye'a. The Gemara tells us Reuven is chayiv, Shimon is pater because aiding, assisting, mesaye'a, anybody mamish is not reckoned with. It's insignificant. The Gemara had 4 rayas. Firstly, from the case of zav, we have the 4 garments under the 4 legs of the behema. They are tar because each one can figuratively tell the other ones. He says, well, you can do without me. The behema can stand on you without me. Therefore, I'm not significant. So although he's being mesaye'a, it's insignificant, and it's not considered as though he's supporting the weight of the behema and the zav who is placed on the behema. Therefore, each talis can say, well, I'm number 4. You can do without me, and therefore I am tar. We have another halacha. Rabbi Yosi tells us that the garment placed under the hind legs of the sus or under the 4 legs of the chamar, those garments are tar because he doesn't really primarily rest on those legs. Even though those legs are helping Abi Mesaye'a, anybody mamish, they're not reckoned with, they're not significant. We have the 2 cases of the kohen. Number 1, where he's standing with 1 foot on a kli and the other foot on the ritzpah of the Beis Hamikdash. So if he can do without the leg standing on the kli, the avodah that he does is kasher. We don't reckon with that leg. Similarly, in the case where he was mekabel adam using his right hand and his left hand was helping out, the avodah is kasher because once again the siyua, the aid, the assistance provided by the other foot or by the other hand is insignificant and not reckoned with. Finally, the Gemara tells us that whenever we have a circumstance where 2 people doing a malacha together who be chayiv, do we need a separate shiur for each one? Or do we say it's one combined act, one combined malacha with one shear sufficient for both? We have achlekes, and the Gemara brought several rayas that one shear is sufficient for all together.